Welcome to the After Dark podcast with NTParanormal, your source for all things supernatural, macabre, and strange. On this show, we discuss the paranormal, metaphysical, cryptids, UFOs, true crime, conspiracies, and everything in between. Some topics, humor, and language used on this show may not be suitable for small children. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, welcome back for the first time, like we've never podcasted it ever before.
I think it's suitable for small children.
I don't think it's at all suitable for anybody, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, this is our first podcast again. It's the After Dark podcast with the NTParanormal team. I am your host, Ashton Rogers. I am a paranormal investigator, mechanical engineer. And I'm joined here by my partner in crime, Allie Hatfield, who is also a paranormal investigator, pseudo medical expert.
Medical expert, yes. I'm a doctor.
Comic book grader. We're totally qualified to do the things that we do. Actually, that's one of the things I want to talk about in this episode is like we often talk about like our qualifications or whatever, but I think after a conversation I had at the last Paracon, I think people misunderstand a lot of what I say and think I hold like some degree I don't actually hold, and I want to clear that up. But
well, we've seen what the people with degrees do, the PhD people with their Stonehenge and shit. So I think us not having a degree might be actually beneficial.
I think a degree says a lot about you. I think it says that you took the time to figure out a way to go to school.
Yeah, I think it says you have money,
or found a way to get money. Oh, yeah. I'm not bagging on people that go to school.
I went to school on grant.
Right. I mean, it's weird. I know people with PhDs now because like I'm old. Like I never thought like I would know somebody with a PhD and be friends with them, but now my friend James has a PhD that's so far doesn't seem to be helping him out too much. Maybe it will. I don't know. He's going to get a job in academia soon, but
he's just so much smarter than me that
he's smarter than everybody. He's like genius level smart, and he's like, "Hey, what you do is cool." And I'm like, "Stop, please. Just everything you're saying right now, just stop. You have a PhD." And then we've met people in our field that like we work with that talk to me like I'm on an equal level as them, and I'm like, "You have a PhD." And they're like, well, you're a mechanical engineer. And I'm like, I mean, I am, but I'm not.
You have a degree in paranormal activity 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That
I think I've only seen 1 through 4.
I do have a PhD in paranormal psychology.
Me too, and EVP
and
something.
Parapsychology, EVP technician, and inner trans communicate ITC inner
Allie.
Yeah.
See, I did hold certification for like state and national level for like EMS stuff, but that's like it's a certification program. I was going for an associate's in emergency medicine, but didn't get there.
But yeah, I mean, you got to the point where you were working on a
I could legally work on an ambulance.
Right, and like you were certified to work on people, and you were a volunteer at the hospital for a whole lot of years,
like more than a decade.
See, and that's I think that's kind of what I want to address. Like people think if you don't have a degree, like you're not worth listening to, or you don't know what you're talking about. So that's kind of a common. Maybe that's kind of going away, like with our generation a little bit. But you can be educated and properly educated. And not have sunk all your money into school. Like I have taken college courses and passed college courses, but I did not obtain degrees in those fields. I do not hold a master's in mechanical engineering. I do have a very strong background in physics. I am very studied in physics.
There's a lot to be said for like practical application and like self-education.
Right. I grew up in an environment where we read a lot, or we learned a lot for the love of wanting to learn that thing, which means it's going to stick with you better. You have a lot of knowledge from growing up with it because your mom was a registered nurse. Yeah. And you have worked on an ambulance. You've also worked in the prison system too. I mean, like you
0 out of 10 stars. Do not recommend.
But I guess what I'm saying is everybody in our group is selected for the jobs that we have divvied out in the group based on the life experiences and the things that they have like properly learned. Like not just we're like
Allie with the criminal justice. Like,
yeah. And we don't go around saying like we're the expert on that. Like we're definitely very fallible. But I have talked to a lot of people with degrees. Like I've talked to mechanical engineers that don't understand some of the concepts I'm talking about. And then they go over my head with, back and forth. So it's kind of a give and take thing. I think the only reason I wanted to like mention that is because I don't want to give the wrong impression like I am or that any of us are some kind of authority in the field. Like we don't hold any weight. Like we're very educated about it. And we can discuss these things and we can tell you factual things and how to get to that weight. Like there are things we can find out through research and figuring it out. And then we can get it to the people that can add the proper weight to it, the credentials to it. Our group actually has a few contacts with like UNT in their science department who also look at like some of our stuff and go, okay, that's stupid or that's not stupid,
My favorite thing is still the people with the PhDs that get on stage and just say these things that I'm just like, how are you that smart and that crazy?
Well, it's that cognitive dissonance sort of thing that we were talking about the other day. And we suffer with it too, because I have this problem of if anybody else in the world tells me they believe in ghosts or they've seen a ghost or had some sort of paranormal experience, I believe you had an experience, but I don't believe you had an experience.
Like I believe something happened, but I don't believe it was like a ghost.
But at the same time, I believe in paranormal experiences because I've had I know what has happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's been recorded objectively, and that makes that belief in that experience even stronger. But anybody else that tells me that, I'm gonna say, okay, well, I wasn't there. Like I can't. It doesn't mesh, and it's a very hard place to like be in.
Allie says, I study criminal justice. Now I sell industrial lubes. And Amelia says, most geniuses in their field don't do good in school because their mind works differently than an academic.
And I consider, and like, I'm not going to sit here and self-deprecate myself. I'm a smart person. I think I'm a smart person. I think I'm above average intelligence. I've tested in the upper percentile when I was in school, blah, blah, whatever that means. Maybe I'm just good at tests. Maybe I'm really not that smart. But I did have a hard time in school it holding my attention. Like when the teacher was telling me stuff in the classroom, like as like a narrative, like if I was in history class and they were just kind of riffing, telling me about the thing, that was interesting. But I didn't want to like read about it. I didn't want to follow certain coursework.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I learned nothing new after 4th grade.
I learned nothing new after 6th grade, I think.
Yeah. Schools. We're in Texas. The schools are good.
Yeah. I mean, the college I've had is very like basic, like entry level auditing. I took like some classes that I didn't know any better. Like I didn't know what I wanted to degree in. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I took things that sounded cool to me. Like I took gravitational physics, which was basically just a class about how the Big Bang happened. And it was just dedicated to that. And I thought that was cool.
See, I took, like for fun, sociology, psychology, like all that sort. Like I really like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I love like those classes, especially like abnormal psych.
Right.
But when my mom was in school, she took an abnormal psych class and brought me her like book home. And I just poured over that. It was so interesting.
If by the time I had got to the point where I was going into school, like higher education, if they had still had parapsychology courses at that time, like, because we had them in the 70s, like that's a thing they just discontinued. But if they had those, I absolutely would have took those classes, even though I think it's silly now, knowing what I know. But I would absolutely have been, I'm definitely taking that. Like, because I would have thought this is real science. Like there's something behind this.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on like MK Ultra and stuff. It's just like I don't know, that felt related. Like stuff they used to do that we're like, oh, we can't do this stuff anymore.
Well, in that, I think that's a thing. It's like through the lens of being a kid and watching Ghostbusters with proton packs and stuff. But like the whole first third of that movie is them doing these stupid experiments at the school.
Wavy lines.
Yeah, do you see wavy lines and like shocking people? Like, and that's the part of paranormal research that I really like. I love going in. I love going into creepy buildings. But what I really love doing is hooking people up to like electrodes and zapping them to see if they're psychic. Like sort of things like that.
That would be fun.
We're starting to do stuff like that now. In our group, and I actually I'll talk about that a little bit later too, because we have some extra parts of our website now that where people can participate. Geniuses in their field, though. I do not consider myself a genius in my field. I am above mediocre at best.
I think I'm probably exactly average.
I think more than anything, my strength is that I'm really headstrong about doing something right. Even if I don't know the answer or the proper way to do it, I think I'm a real big stickler on this is the proper way to perform this experiment. And if I don't know what's going to interfere with it or whatever, I'm like, okay, we need to call somebody that can tell us how to do this the right way. Of course, the cat would.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep her from meowing. She's very into this. She wants to be on the show.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, this is a reboot. We've done this podcast since 2015, something like that.
But there's a learning curve. We made some errors. We want to talk about more stuff than just what we were talking about. Right.
I think we had really good episodes, and in this reboot, what I want to do is I want to touch on new things. I want to completely redo some of our.
Sorry, Mamila, you like the Stranger Things?
Yeah, I do like Stranger Things.
No spoilers.
Yeah, we still got 2 episodes left. But I want to redo episodes we've already done. So if you've watched the show or listened to the show,
all 4 of you.
Yeah, all 4 of you. We used to have a lot of listeners when we were doing it regular. We had regular listeners.
I don't care about the other people, these 4 people.
Yeah.
So, no, just kidding.
But you're going to see those show names pop up again. We're going to redo it again. And we're obviously going to rehash things that we already talked about. But I feel like we're going to bring a different level of insight to it than we did before, because I don't know. I still don't feel like we know what we're doing now, but I feel like we have a better handle on what our lane is. And if you listen to the new show intro, instead of just being a whole bunch of music or whatever, it talks about all the stuff that we want to cover. Because one of the big complaints was we started off as just a paranormal podcast. It was supposed to be just we were going to talk about our own cases.
Yeah, we went to Antioch last weekend. It was
and then we had to find new material, and we started talking about other stuff, and then we would get sidetracked. So people were like, "Why are you talking about serial killers? Why are you talking about real estate rates? I'm gonna kill that cat. I swear to God." But I like talking about those things. So what our podcast is going to be aimed towards, what this show is going to be aimed towards, is just dark topics. A lot of it will be paranormal, especially the first 10 or 15 episodes. It's going to be directly related to what we do, cases we've been on, things we've observed, the science stuff that we like to dedicate ourselves to. But at some point we're going to veer back off into the land of, hey, serial killers, just dark
conspiracies
is in there.
Cults, I like cults.
Cults are going to be in there. Mythology is going to be in there. We're going to talk about a lot of topics, and I've got 200 episodes fleshed out, written. So I'm real excited to get into that. But on the other hand, I guess, why are we rebooting? Well, it's not just, we were real inconsistent before. COVID happened. We tried to do like a couple episodes, and then I kind of gave up on it.
Well, I got the job at the prison. I was working 7 days a freaking week, and then like I switched to the other job, and things were just hectic and like up in the air. And
there's 5 of us in the group, and we can't all be here at the same time. And it's chaos anyway. I didn't really want to do it that way, and we were trying to bring in like. We don't want to leave anybody left out, so we're like, oh, why don't you come in for this episode? Why don't you come in? We'll tell Kristen come in for this episode, or we'll tell Allie come in for this episode. And it wasn't working, and we weren't doing a whole lot. We haven't done any investigations since like our last podcast. Nothing official. Like we've done some like events and stuff like that, but we have not done any investigations. Like we've been sitting on everything. And it's kind of twofold. One, there haven't been a lot of investigations to do. And 2, I've really kind of lost my passion for it. I'm kind of trying to rekindle it because it's not the same as it was way back in the beginning. It's not the same as it was when we were at the peak and really doing what we were doing. It just hasn't been the same.
I think our decision was to like dial it down to the very like basics, how we started.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the haters. The Real Good Podcast. Push through and listen to what the fans like. Haters gonna hate. Every time someone says haters gonna hate, I think the Taylor Swift song gets stuck in my head. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
So, damn it, Amelia.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
It's so catchy.
That'll be our new theme song now. Just shake it off. That brings up a good point. The haters gonna hate. So. Obviously you for our premiere episode have followed us a long time, and we're not the best reviewed like group. Like we were never doing it for that specifically, but I was having fun.
I was going to say I
stuff.
specifically like doing the podcast because it feels like I'm talking to you. It feels like I'm talking to these people. It just feels like a good conversation about like stuff I enjoy talking about.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we stopped, because that started kind of feeling like a chore too, because it's like, okay, I have to present a new topic, and a lot of times we were kind of like rehashing the same conversations over and over again. Like we were always talking about Kyle. Like during this run, we're going to do one more episode about Kyle, but we're going to put everything like on the table. We're going to talk it through beginning to end, all the details, answer as many questions as we can. And then we'll move on from it, and then I don't have to rehash it every time we like sit down. I mean, we can flash back to it or whatever, but I just don't want this. I don't want to do 200 episodes of us just joking about the same case that we did like 5 years ago now, like 6 years ago. Yeah, it's been a long time, and we think differently now. We do things differently now than we did. Like when I first started, like I was a very firm believer, and then I swung the other way where I very firmly didn't believe. And like, I just think differently than I did. But I feel like for all the new listeners and stuff, we have to kind of do a sort of reboot or reintroduction. Oh, by the way, the old episodes, they're not totally like gone, deleted. They're still on our Facebook account. Like you can go back and like listen to them and watch them and stuff.
Listen, please don't watch.
I also feel like we need a reboot because we should probably address some changes here and there. I am very obviously a lot bigger than I was like when I started. Yes, I'm the same person. You are very obviously not going by the same name anymore. That's fine. We don't want to hear about it. Just, this is how it is now.
I've started to, like, if people ask, like, oh, are you new to the group? I've just been like, yep, completely new.
You are not new to the group. You were, like, one of the 3 founding members. It was me, you, and Allie.
None of that history exists.
But
Same, it's hard to find motivation to go out when the pandemic limits access to financial issues. Oh, no joke, man.
Yeah, the finance thing is a big deal because it's getting more and more expensive to ghost hunt.
It's more expensive to do everything.
Yeah, just driving to the location. Like right now, like I picked a horrible time to decide, hey, we're going to start doing investigations again. Because now it's going to cost an extra $60 just to get there.
Fucking Biden, man. Sorry.
Are you serious, man?
Hard to find a ghost when trying to find a way to pay bill. No, man. I'm like, maybe the place I work is haunted. I gotta drive there anyway. Let's investigate.
So as far as reintroduction goes, if you're a new listener or somebody that's listening to this after we've done this live, and I am the lead investigator of a professional. I'm doing air quotes if you're just listening.
Co-lead.
I am the lead investigator for a paranormal group that does scientific investigations of paranormal activity. Like we go look at the legitimacy of it.
As scientific as possible in an uncontrolled setting.
Right.
We're doing our best.
Yeah, and not like there's not a lot of pseudoscience in paranormal investigation. It's just that we're trying to control the settings and get objective evidence. You are the co-founder of this group. Really, it started with me and you. I always include Allie in there, but like the first few things we did, it was just me and you because I was dating Allie at the time. You were her best friend. And she said, hey, go hang out with my best friend. Neither one of you guys have anything to do. And it was me and you going and doing this stuff. And then it was like 3 investigations later. And then she joined. So really, she's a co-founder too. But you got the 3 investigation jump on her for our official stuff. I'm just talking about our official stuff.
Well, yeah, and I was the same. Me and Allie did stuff before, but it was to ghost fart. Like we were just wandering around a cemetery, just like at 19, as stupid questions.
So you are the co-lead investigator, co-founder. Allie is also a co-founder. She is our forensic photographer. She does a lot of our still photography, and I mean everybody does all the experiments, but she is mostly in charge of our still photography.
Yeah, I'm bad at photography. That is not my forte. So.
Yeah, and it's also her job to document how like the area sits before we go in and do anything, so that we can do like comparison shots. Your dad, Donald Cook, is our videographer. He is 100% in control of doing video, like documentary style. Like, wait, he's not filming for evidence. He's filming us do the investigation. That's his job. And then Kristen's still in the group. And she has a little bit of a background in psychology, but she's just a friend that is really skeptical. Mm-hmm. So we bring her in as kind of like a control, and she kind of does it. But she's not going to be participating as much in the field studies anymore.
Jack wants to know what forensic photography is. How do I explain that?
I mean, we'll get into it, but forensic photography it's going to be a more systematic approach to photography, where she's doing panels like systematically for documentation purposes. And then once we get into like the mono wavelength photography and stuff, she's doing different experiments that change what wavelengths of light we're using in the room. But she's specifically photographing and documenting for changes.
She's going in the room and she's taking a bunch of pictures.
Right. Like they're not artistic pictures.
It's just systematic pictures of everything in the room.
Yeah. And it's specifically documenting evidence or documented changes in evidence.
When she was in her class, one of the things she did was I played murder victim and laid on the ground, and she started like from the outside, and like I don't remember if it's the inside. She'd have to explain to me which direction she did it in. But basically I laid on the ground and she took pictures of everything. I put bloody footprints in the snow. She took just everything. And it's just, documenting literally everything we can document from the scene in sort of a very clinical way.
And it's a grid too. I mean, it's more of a spiral, but it's a grid, and that every square inch of everything is documented. So when you lay those photos out, you get a 100% visual of the crime scene.
Well, because we were at, where was it, Yoakum, and you kicked a trash can. Yes. Yeah. And we had to go back and
look at the reference photographs to see where was that trash can before I kicked it. Because we could have swore in that time that the trash can wasn't there, and I kicked it because it had moved, and we had to go back into the photography to see where it was prior to me kicking it. To see if there was any change, and that's how we debunk it. We debunked that too. It's just I'm an idiot and I kicked a trash can.
There's some photo that Emilio sent you to explain methods of analysis. He says we can use it at some point. He said I didn't have to say it live, but I guess I don't remember the photo.
I don't think you've seen it yet. They recently did an investigation at that Hill House in Mineral Wells.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm jealous.
yeah, it's they posted a bunch of videos and photos on our group page. Everybody can go look at those. And there was a specific photo they took that he was getting my feedback on. Of course, he knows I'm never going to say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely hot," you know.
Yeah.
So he just wanted me to list off all the ways that it wasn't.
He's like,
wasn't good enough for me.
He's like, I need someone to just shit on this.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I think this is really good. Can you just bring my self-esteem down 3 notches? And I'm like, oh, okay, because I don't recognize bait on a hook to save my life. But he was using mono wavelength photography for it, so they were using a red filter, and they got a really cool alternate color in there, like, which is what we want.
Yeah.
But systematically, we started going through all the different things that can cause that. And we figured out like the aperture set, because it was taken with a camera phone. So in a low light setting, the aperture does things at a certain speed, and the HDR was on, which people don't realize.
You're talking gibberish right now. I did want to say I really like how Emilio and them, like, I like their investigations. I think they're a little different than us. I think they're actually more entertaining.
Probably everybody is way more entertaining. I'd probably
rather watch them than us.
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier, is we are not like the best reviewed. Like for our 2 episodes that we had on Amazon or whatever, it goes squarely into 2 camps. It's 5-star people and 1-star people. The 5-star people are really cool with watching a very long video about how we found nothing, and how we like really deliberately tried to debunk every little thing and do the most honest investigation. And then the 1-star people are like, man, that ain't Zach Bagans. This sucks, and there's just no middle ground there. And I still want to do like a show or videos, like a new show format or whatever when we do investigations, but I'm thinking of doing it a little bit differently. Not trying to emulate what's already out there.
Well, that's a good, like the next thing on our list, like team goals, like what specifically are we trying to prove?
Yeah. So if you've never listened before, we do have a mission statement, and we've always been true to that. And I don't know it word for word, but it's specifically specifically what we do is scientific analysis of claims of paranormal activity.
Even our own claims.
Even our own claims.
I didn't mean to get attention. I just wanted to give y'all an example. I know, but y'all do deserve some recognition.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the few teams that we've gone out with in tandem more than once.
Yeah. Which
is saying a lot.
They're also just really cool dudes. Like,
well, I don't get along with other paranormal investigators that much. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but after they've shown me like the 5th thing, and my answer is, well, I wasn't really there. It could be that, like, they don't get the answer they want out of me, and I think it frustrates them, because what they want is validation, and what I'm giving them is my analysis of it, and I don't know how to validate something that I feel like is questionable. I don't think it's ethical for me to do that.
No,
I never say it can't be that thing. But they don't hear that part of it.
No, they hear you telling them you're wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem with a lot of people. But, I think that's a society problem right now. Is everybody just hears all the negative?
But I appreciate the people we have met through this. There's a lot of people that we have become friends with through doing this, that like I just appreciate having around. They're just really interesting people. They're fun to talk to. So I'm glad, like, all that old stuff, like, I'm glad we did it, but I think we need a new direction.
Well, and when we first started, I wanted to group myself in with like the ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Like, I think I said it at the Paracon. I was like, I don't know why they keep inviting us back to these, because this is the group that's interested in what we have to say, but they don't like what we have to say. And then if we went and hung out like at a science convention and started talking about our paranormal crap, they'd be like, "Why are you here? You guys are idiots."
Well,
we're in some kind of middle lane.
Well, because people get up on the stage who have a PhD and they're talking about anthropology, and I'm listening, and these things sound really scientific, and then all of a sudden, and these are sweet people, and I don't find anything wrong with what they're doing, but they're talking about building Stonehenge in their backyard for magical healing properties, and I'm just like, we do not fit in here.
Yeah, it's
fun. I like these people. I'm glad they have something they're passionate about. It's nice to watch, but we don't fit in. We just don't.
It's a hard line between ghost hunters and paranormal investigators.
That's always been the thing that you've gone, like, you've tried to drill in.
And I get stuck on it. And I don't know if I'm right on that necessarily anymore.
I think you said it enough times that it's true. It's America. That's how everything works. Say it louder, and it's fact.
But I've always said, like, ghost hunters, it's somebody out hunting for like paranormal activity, and what they're looking for, they'll do anything to like validate it, like with their EMF detector or whatever.
And I really like doing that. I think that's fun. I think that's a fun Friday night activity. Go to the cemetery, scare the shit out of yourself, go home. But that's not, there's no goal to that.
Right. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do with that information you got? And then the fact that you're not validating that information with further knowledge of what you're doing, like, that is part of what spoiled it for me. So if you're thinking about going out and being a ghost hunter, but you're like, oh, I want to do this the right way, like the NTParanormal team does it. If you have fun ghost hunting, don't do it that way.
Headphones are so way too loud. There's someone sitting in, Virginia right now, like, you know how I want to ghost hunt? The NTParanormal. Sorry, it cracks me up.
I feel like we've got comments every now and then where people are like, oh, I really like what you're doing. How can I emulate that? And I'm like, don't. It's horrible. Because, I mean, we started out, we got EMF detectors because I saw it on TV. And we got, our audio recorders because we saw it on TV.
I love the EVP. I was 16 the first time I did an EVP, and it must have been the first ghost hunter show, the TAP show, because I don't know where else I would have gotten that idea.
Most Haunted, or
something.
There was stuff
But I set a recorder out in my mom's house that I was so convinced was haunted, and all I got was my mom and stepdad having a really wild argument. It ruined my childhood.
Well, I wanted to talk about that too, like, because I want to introduce all the new listeners to us. So, like, what were your early interests that got you thinking in terms of paranormal as something that's interesting, not necessary? Like, it's always kind of scary, but there's a switch in certain people that flips where you go, oh, it's also interesting, or it's interesting, not scary. What flipped that switch for you?
I think it was a mix, and I wonder back, like, growing up in a super religious house.
Okay.
Like, my dad's a music minister. They weren't like...
What denomination?
Southern Baptist.
Okay. Man, you sound really ashamed.
Because people dig on Southern Baptist, but, like, that's what the area was. That's what everyone was.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in Granbury, Texas, with 5,000 people. But the mix between that and, like, I always found the Bible interesting because it has a supernatural aspect to it. It talks about weird spaceships and things that are just wings and eyes. And
the biblically accurate angels.
Oh, I love
those memes.
If you don't look at those memes, you should. But... And now I've lost my plot. There's like ghosts in the Bible.
Right.
There's people like, hey, I want to summon my dead dad, and dead dad shows up and goes, hey, don't summon ghosts. This is bad.
Yeah, he doesn't say that this isn't a thing you can do. He says this is bad. Like, witchcraft is bad. There's like.
But then, like, my grandma she called them thriller movies. We'd stay up late and we'd watch thriller, like Duel, or God, that stupid Stephen King one with the machines that come alive.
Maximum Overdrive,
The Blob, just all these old Vincent Price movies. And then my mom, like,
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
my mom worked all the time, so our time we spent together was watching The Thing. It was watching the Howling series, or God, Amityville.
What age is this?
I'm 6 or 7.
Okay, so way too young.
Well, but I'm not having nightmares. Like,
Right, I know, but yeah, according to the NTPIA, you're way too young to be watching this.
Like, I appreciate that my parents got me into that, but then like, I never had like a haunting incident. I liked horror movies. I'd scare myself. And then I moved into my mom's house in Crescent, and that's when weird stuff starts happening. I can't explain it. It's been so long.
Around what age is this?
I'm 13.
Okay.
And we're living in a trailer, and if you're not anywhere near our area, Crescent, Texas is so small it doesn't.
But you would say before that
it doesn't even have a population sign. And I wasn't like, oh, ghosts are real before that. I was too little. I wasn't thinking about it.
Okay, so you're not like interested in it yet, though. You're not even like, I think this is interesting.
I think it's interesting, but like as a theoretical exercise.
Right.
It's when like I moved into a house where weird stuff started happening to me.
And then something like flipped where you're like, oh, the stuff I see in that movie can happen in real life.
And I was like, okay, maybe I don't watch horror movies anymore. Maybe this is like my mind just making stuff up. And
man, you're a real mature 13-year-old if you put that thought process into place.
I was weirdly mature for my age, and then I regressed at about 18. But then we moved into that house in Joshua, and things got really bad. Like,
right.
Just horrifying stuff. Like footsteps, seeing faces, just even like my parents experienced this too, or my stepdad and my mom.
Well, see, okay, and I get that. Okay, that happens, and that horrifies you. And I can see that kind of getting you into being more curious about it. But what made you also think, like, maybe I want to go get a recorder and try to, like, capture this?
Ew, Crescent. But I felt stupid being scared. I felt dumb.
So it was validation.
I wanted to prove to myself that either there was something there. I'm not making this. I'm not crazy. I thought I was going crazy.
Right.
And I need to show this to someone else because, like, okay, me and my stepdad are experiencing things when we sit in the living room together. My friends are coming over, but I've been working in the hospital. I started volunteering at JPS at 13. I was really young working in the ER, so I learned what seizures can do.
Right.
What your brain can do. Like,
so you had overexposure to, like, medical, like, knowledge of alternate options besides the paranormal. Like most little kids, they see a scary movie and then something scary happens in their house. They don't have that alternate avenue of knowledge of other things that it could be, so they immediately go there. But it sounds like you had exposure to wider bits of knowledge at a younger age, so you're like, oh, it could be like one of 10 things.
My dad was very analytical and always willing to, he's always been very good about, oh, you're interested in that, let's like look it up, let's get a book about it. He's very
back before Google.
Well, he's very artistic. Like he's a great artist, but he's also like analytical and just like a history buff. And that helps, I think, when I was thinking things through. I think it helped me be more rational that he gave me that basis. And then I think my mom being more passionate about things and like a little less analytical made me go, okay, maybe this is a real thing. Maybe I can document it. So my mom's belief and then my dad's being analytical, I was like, okay, I got to prove it. I got to show somebody this.
Okay. See, you had something similar but also opposite me happen, right? So you got to around age 13, 14, 15, 16, and it terrified you, but you also were like, I'll get a recorder and do this thing, right?
I was tired of feeling dumb.
It wasn't until I met you guys that I finally got brave enough to record, because I was for sure I was going to get something, because I had kind of the same beginning at an early age. I watched like horror movies and stuff with my dad. Like my favorite movie at like age 10 was like Aliens. That's not age appropriate.
Yeah,
at
that
all.
one and The Thing from when we were
Yeah.
kids are rough
Oh,
movies, man.
I loved stuff like that. I loved the Twilight Zone. I loved the Outer Limits. Like that stuff made me like science and horror. And then that was with my dad. And then I had a flip side of that coin where my mom grew up in a haunted house. And I use air quotes not because I don't think she grew up in a haunted house, because I can't prove it. And I want to get into that. I actually want to have her on the show at some point later and talk about
She
that.
has some interesting stories if you like sit and listen.
Well, I haven't talked to her about those stories since I started ghost hunting a long time ago, and I want to revisit those stories through another filter. But anyway, I heard all those at a way too young age too, and that put like fear in me. Like I was thinking about demons and ghosts and how the paranormal operates and things like I was hearing like rules like don't use a Ouija board, don't look in a mirror, blah blah blah. I was hearing things like that, and so it terrified me.
As a kid, though, did you believe it could fully get you?
Yes.
See, I'm not religious anymore, but I think because I was very religious as I was young, I think that actually helped me because I was like, oh, I'm protected. I'm safe.
I had the opposite. I thought I'm totally vulnerable to this thing. Knowing it's there doesn't help me at all. It just lets me know that it's that whole anxiety thing. And I was like, I don't want to get a recording of a demon in my house. That's not something I want.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so for years and years and years, I just believed this. Like, I watched the ghost shows and I was like, oh shit, that stuff is really convincing to like that. I didn't know any better.
Oh, good. The first season of Ghost Hunters is completely convincing.
Man, I watched all those shows and like I wasn't so interested. I was watching them religiously, but when it came on, I'd be like interested because like I also watched like mysteries of the Bible and sometimes like ancient aliens but when I watched it and they said things as fact on that show, I believed it. When they said, "Oh, this thing detects ghosts through this," I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I never took that extra step. So I never wanted to go investigate myself.
I remember very clearly we did not know each other well. You sending me that picture from that warehouse that you were at.
Yeah.
Is it just that one incident that was like, hey, this is what I want to do now?
That's the first thing that here's what's funny. Our memory is distorted a little bit, and I went back and I checked the notes. We did one ghost hunt thing before that happened, and I had forgot about it, but I felt like that opened me up to that experience. So you were talking the house you live in now with your family. You were talking about how the upstairs is haunted and you can hear people run up and down the stairs in the door. Remember all that?
Well, hold on. I'm sorry. I was answering someone. I'm trying to say to Paranormal Tech that they said the artistic liberty they put in those shows, it's too much. And I said, yeah, I still like those shows, but as entertainment, as fun.
Well, I still watch them. Like I hate Zach Bagans, the person.
I hate that Ghost Adventures is the one you like. I hate that.
I like it has good production value. That's the thing. The reason they're still on the air is because it's entertaining for people to watch. It holds your attention. The reason we don't have a show is because we do honest investigations.
I just want to bag on Baggins, but
we'll do a full on Zach Bagans episode.
Sorry, I did not sleep well at all last night. But you said we did an investigation before the picture at the warehouse?
I say investigation. It's the very first thing I ever did. But you told me a ton of stories about your house, and Allie backed it up. She's like, "Oh yeah, Eli and Steven's house is just haunted as fuck." And I was like, okay. And you guys asked me, knowing that I did a bunch of audio stuff, because like I made songs and I recorded videos and things like that. You said, how can we do this? And I was like,
because my daughter was scared. She was a lot younger then.
Oh, that is why we did it. Yeah, the kids were scared.
Sorry, Jen says she's listening and not watching, so she's late saying this. But they had me grow up on Vincent Price and Dark Shadows. I didn't like Dark Shadows. I love Dark Shadows. I didn't believe anything until I saw my dad, who's dead twice, and then there's Steve at work. Oh, I've heard you talk about that. Though we've heard her now, and she's a little girl, so not as Steve, but.
the kids were scared. So I said, you absolutely do not want to do these. I was warning you against it. I said, don't do these because you're going to catch something. And y'all were like, no, let's do it. And I said, okay, I've got a video camera with an extra battery. Like, it still had the little DV tape in it. And we set that at the top of the stairs. And I used some at the time. Actually, it's sitting right here. This line 6.
My plan was that if we caught something, to lie to the kids. And if we didn't catch anything, to show it to them. I was just going to full on freaking lie to them.
But we set that up at the top of the stairs. And then we like all left. Like, I think we might have went to Antioch.
I don't know. We were gone for a while because that's the one time I've got those French doors. Mm-hmm. That's the one time, the one that's like locked down.
The dog
My
pushed
dog
it up.
managed to open it, and it was terrifying to watch that on camera.
Yeah, we start watching the film and we just see this door open up, and then on the audio we hear all this talking in the house, and like at first glance we're just like, oh crap, this is for real. Look what we got. And then I
move.
And then I sat there and I listened to it all night, and I was like, this is your neighbors. Like, your neighbors are having a party, because I could hear like mariachi music in the back.
Mariachi music.
And then I don't think we ever got Anubis, your dog. Your dog's name is Anubis. I don't think we ever got him on video, but we decided that that's what it was. Because you also had the other dog.
That was was it Zeus?
Zeus, yeah.
Zeus.
Yeah.
Zeus has since passed away. He was a good doggo.
He's a good doggo. But that was the first thing we ever did, and then we put it away forever. Like it was like a good month.
Well, we also
because we weren't driving around yet or anything like that.
I was gonna say, I have that hobby. It's not ghost hunting where I drive around and like find cemeteries, because I used to do the gravestone rubbings.
Well, I didn't know you yet, so when we did that at your house, I didn't know. That was like my third time meeting
us.
Yeah. Period. And we weren't like driving around on the weekends looking for crap to do, right? And I think maybe like a month or two went by, and I had my experience at the warehouse, and it blew me away. And it wasn't the experience, like, I hate to say it, but it wasn't the experience. Like, I had my experience or whatever, and I thought it was rad. But when I posted it up, everyone went, that's bull. You guys
I thought you faked it. But the question is what made you go back in with a camera? What was it? The same thing as me? Were you just trying to prove it to yourself, to other people, that something weird was up?
So I've told that story like a ton of times, and I really don't know the real answer. But basically what happened is I was in there and I was doing a thing, and then all this stuff happened. And I had seen something, and I had heard some things, and I was basically chased out of there. Yeah. Like, I was so scared. I was like, fuck this.
Well, and you were completely alone in this giant warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't you taken me? No, that was a different warehouse. But the one you took me to is very open and creepy and terrifying.
Yeah, all warehouses are creepy when nobody's in there. Yeah. And I left, and I went to lunch, and I sat on it for about an hour. And when I went back in, I had to go back in to go get my stuff, and I had to finish my job because I was at work, and I didn't want to go back in. But once I went back in, I stood there for like a second, and like nothing happened. And then the idea, I don't know how it popped into my head or whatever, but the idea suddenly popped into my head. I was like, well, all that happened, but nothing bad happened. Yeah. I was like, yeah, what did they do on the? I was like, okay, maybe I can catch it. And that'll be cool. Like, that's really all I thought. And I ended up getting the singing and the footsteps.
Whistling?
And the picture of the man in the back. And this was like kind of all over the course of like 2 more visits in there while I was finishing up. Yeah, and that's how it started. But the very first thing I got documented was the picture, and I'd taken.
It was an awesome picture.
Yeah, and
I mean, listen, it's always that moment. I didn't believe / think of it until.
And I did. I can say at that particular moment, maybe not so much anymore. But if I'm talking about past me, in that particular moment, in those months that followed that, I absolutely believed. I absolutely went, no, that I caught proof. I understand it may not be science, but I didn't even care at that time. I was like, I got the proof, and that thing happened to me. This is absolutely real. And then we started going to cemeteries.
But it's so places. Hard to like disavow something that you viscerally like experience. It's even, I don't care what camera shows or what the EVP shows, like, I lived this stuff. It's so different, and like that's the part I find interesting. And I almost think sometimes when I'm holding a camera or doing an investigation, it takes me out of it enough that I'm a little less scared and I'm more able to think clearly.
Well, I definitely know that I can investigate better. Like, I'm not as analytical with a group, but I am more able to function with the group behind me because I will take risks that I would not take on my own. So, like,
safety in numbers and proving you got the biggest balls. Those are the two.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like when we went to the hospital in Mineral Wells, the Nazareth Hospital, right? And, you know, by that point in time, I don't even believe ghosts exist, but she's telling me, hey, there's a weird feeling on the sixth floor or whatever if you go, and people get pushed up there. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, whatever, lady. But then anytime I had to go to the 6th floor by myself, I'd puss out and come get somebody. Like, I don't want to go places on my own. Like, that's that cognitive dissonance. I don't necessarily believe anywhere I'm going into is haunted. And even if I know nobody's in there, I'm still scared. Like, because I can visualize, like, what if I turn this corner and there's something there that's not supposed to be there? And it
well, and you're a human. We're like top of the food chain, but we're also prey for a ton of crap.
Well,
other people, and like you can't turn that part of your brain off.
Well, and I still have that thought. Like, yeah, we're going in to document this stuff, but oh golly gee, what if we do? There's no defending against that. I still have that same thought. It's like, what good does this recording of your voice and the proof that it's there do me? Nothing. What do I do about it? What if there are? Oh my God! What if there's demons?
That was the.
What if they're there?
It's not just Kyle, but like anywhere we've been that it looks like something affected the real world, knocked a limb out of the way, anything like that. I'm like, oh shit, that can get me.
Yeah, like the time I had the red mark on my arm, I was like, oh shit. Maybe things can touch me.
Yeah, Julie's talking about the jail where you got grabbed. You got grabbed. Your hand on the bed.
Yeah, that kicked it up to a whole different level of real for me.
We've just been so wish-washy this whole time since we did my house, and I wasn't a believer at all. And you were more of a believer, and then I went up, and you went down, and just.
Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, and
Kristen and Allie have been more static, I think.
Some of our bad reviews say that we do that, like we contradict ourselves a lot. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think when we're presented with new evidence, that means we're considering it, and we may be emotional at the time, but at least we're considering the thing that when something grabbed my arm, I do not believe in ghosts. That's not a thing I'm looking for when I'm in there. Something grabbed my arm. I'm reconsidering that evidence because something just grabbed my arm, and I was reconsidering it all the way back down to the lobby when as I ran away, and I was like, something just grabbed my fucking arm.
And I like immediately crapped on it, but I was jealous.
Yeah,
I was so jealous that something like that happened to you.
And I think that's a lot of what happens between different investigative groups. It's all a big competition. Who's going to get the cooler thing that happens to them? Who's going to get the better picture?
Like, I want a ghost to push me. I want it on camera. But then again, I don't. If I ever walk into a room and see a fucking ghost, I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, and how disappointing would it be? Like, because this happens here at the house, right? We see the thing in the bathroom.
Oh, you brought it home. Your bathroom demon dog.
Yeah, and we see it all the time, and we're completely unimpressed with it.
And my sleep.
You know why? Because it's not on camera. Everything cool that happens is never captured.
And I have that sleep paralysis, and I very much want you to record, because to me it feels like it'd be very visible. The sleep paralysis. I want you to record it, but it's so it doesn't happen like when I plan it. I would love to catch it on video, especially the ones where I see a creature crawl up the wall and on the ceiling, or when something drags me out of bed because I have sleep paralysis. I want to know what my face looks like. But God, I don't want to know it's real.
Like, you want to record it, and you almost want like nothing to happen. I don't
want to see anything.
But you want the validation of seeing yourself get drug out of bed, but you also don't want the validation of seeing yourself actually get drug out of bed. Like, because how horrifying is it? Because that means not only is it something you can't do anything about, it's something that doesn't have any qualms about effing with you while you're asleep in your most vulnerable state.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Someone's with me when this is happening.
That means it absolutely does not care.
Like I the first ever sleep paralysis incident, Allie was babysitting my son Andrew. He was a baby, and she was holding him asleep in my bed, and I lay down behind her, and I get drug out of bed. But I can't scream for Allie. I can't do anything, and I'm like, I thought I was safe when I wasn't alone.
I'll respond to him in a minute, but I remember I really like our first investigations. Like they were so much fun. They were such crap, but like the first 3 places, just me and you went on our own, and then we started bringing Allie in because she didn't believe us either, because we were like, hey, yeah, this is what we're doing now. She's like, that's what you guys decided to do. And we're like, yeah, and
it's just funny because Allie likes going. Like me and her used to just fuck around and with other friends. We had people that were doing stupid stuff. We only went out with them once because they were doing stupid stuff. They were okay, I don't believe in ghosts, but I think if you go to a cemetery and drop slurs, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And so when I saw him doing that, I was like, okay, this isn't the avenue I wanted to take. And I think that soured me and Allie on it for a little while.
Well, also at that time that was happening, you did believe in ghosts.
Well, I didn't. I was in the middle of my deconversion. I was in the middle of becoming an atheist to everything and relearning what I believed in.
Right.
I had to stop everything so I could pick and choose from here and there what I want to believe, what I want to tell people I believe. Because sometimes what I think in my own head, I don't want to tell people. It's embarrassing.
Right.
I'm sure we're all like that.
I was very scared to go to Antioch the first time, and I remember the first time we went there, it was with me, Allie, Steven, and you. Because you and Steven and Allie were all 3 hyping me up on it, and I'm.
And this is it's a cemetery outside of Grandview. It used to be more in the middle of nowhere. Of course, like Progress houses have crept into these areas, but it's just this little cemetery. You park across the road, you walk into the cemetery.
Well, and it's got a lot of local stories. Like I was able to find it like on Reddit pretty quick.
Well, my friend Cassie, who
you guys had the story about Cassie, and you guys were telling me about the rocks getting thrown or whatever. So we went.
That's where the possession story comes from.
Yeah, and Allie and Steven stayed because Allie didn't want to get out of the car.
No, they stayed in the car.
Because Allie was more of a firm believer at that point in time, or she specifically didn't like that place.
It was
maybe
very near to that time when we had that incident with the friend who, air quotes, got possessed.
Okay,
and we also felt like it was. I think part of us felt like it was rude being out there because of the way they had acted. I don't ever want to be disrespectful, even though they're dead. I don't believe they're still hanging out. I do not believe that humans pop back up after they're dead, and I don't think they can hear me. But I think it's cruel, and I don't think it's right.
But what I found really super interesting about that is the very first official time that like we went out in any kind of capacity to like find something, and immediately stuff did happen. Because you were walking me over to where the thing happened, and I was walking behind you because I was not liking the place, and we don't know each other real well at this point in time yet. Like we've only just started hanging out and going to some spots.
And I remember feeling you out, and I thought you would be like more like Steven. And so when you got scared, that terrified me.
Well, what happened was you were walking, and I heard it. But you like heard it and felt it, but it was like a rock had been thrown or something. And like, I didn't know anything about the layout or any of that stuff. We immediately
started looking at the ground like, were there rocks?
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe I kicked the thing. Like, I'm trying to be skeptical, but in my head, I'm going, man, that fucker just had a rock thrown at him. Like, I was freaking out.
It was close to that tree, and I was like, something fell. And then I was like shaking limbs, nothing's falling down. I'm like, oh no.
And then while we're doing that, we hear footsteps coming from the dark towards us, and don't get ahead of me if you're a long time listener, but we hear footsteps and we're like ushering ourselves out or whatever. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here.
I'm thinking to myself, don't run, because once you start, you're gone. Oh, sorry, Jen said I have a random question. You don't have to respond. Oh, sorry, I'll read it and then you keep going with your story.
So we like usher ourselves out of there. We get back to the car. Of course, Allie's got to go to the bathroom, but she's freaking out because she's been hearing stuff hit the car the whole time, which is exactly what y'all told us. So we drove back to the house. And actually, I think that was the night that we were doing the investigate. I think that's where we went while we were investigating your house.
Yeah, I think so. I think we were like double investigation that night.
Yeah. And then we got back and we're hyped from that. And then, and I was just convinced. Like, and then we saw the stuff on the video. I was like, I'm convinced. I told you not to do this. This was a bad idea. And we didn't do anything for a while. And like eventually I figured out it was the dog.
Yeah.
And the whispers or whatever. And
we had to be a little separate from it before we could like think rationally. It was all very overwhelming at first.
There was a lot going on in one night. But what I really liked was later on, and we didn't go back to Antioch. Like we went somewhere else the next time, and then we went somewhere else the next time, and we didn't revisit those things. I posted some of the video, or no, we didn't have a video camera yet.
No, we were just EVP.
Yeah. We weren't posting anything, and we went to like a fourth place, and I bought like a cheap little video camera and another digital recorder. I was like, okay.
Well, because you had the one you set up at my house, but that wasn't like for wandering around.
I didn't know anything about like night vision because we were going out at night. None of that stuff. And so we got just like other little cheap equipment, like because I got like this little camera from Best Buy, and I couldn't figure out why we couldn't like film at night and all that crap. We went to like 3 other places, and then eventually we decided to go back to Antioch.
Because I thought to myself, the one thing I wish ghost shows would do is repeat places, because they're running under the assumption that ghosts are dead people. What if they're shy? You got to get to know them. You got to go back.
Right.
And what if that one night you were there is when nothing happened? I really like the repeating thing we've done. I think that's a good choice. It's the best idea I've ever come up with while ghost hunting. Is we've got to do these places at least 3 times,
right? And that was
if we can.
That was a big contribution to what we were doing, because it hadn't really occurred to me. I was like, why would you go back? That sounds dumb. And then we went back, and then we just kind of sat there, like we still weren't filming yet. But
did we have the EMF yet?
I might have got one of those like super cheap ones that didn't have like a backlight on it.
That's the very first thing I remember us debunking is we were getting EMFs in Antioch, and we got so excited when we figured out it was the iron.
Yeah, no, I had a camera by then. Like a camera was like the last thing I got. I think I got an EMF detector.
Because we weren't planning on doing a show or anything. We were just having fun.
Yeah, we weren't even planning on being a team.
And then you had to take it to the next level because you can't do anything halfway.
But we went back and we just sat. I remember even on the second time that we went there, we just sat in the middle for a minute. And I said, let's just be quiet. Let's just be like, not try to find anything, but just sit. And we heard those footsteps again.
I think we were just trying to experience the ambiance and like settle.
But we both wanted to bolt.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a minute, just stop. I was like, just look. And we looked, and there's this little squirrel.
Is that also the night where we were just walking very gently, calmly, not running, and then the thing screamed from the woods?
That was our very first live stream.
Okay.
With a phone and a flashlight. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
But even as far as just like 4 in, we were already willing to like go back to a place and say that maybe the experience we had before wasn't what we thought it was at the time. And I was really impressed with that. Like that kind of started a mode of thinking. I was like, wait a minute. I do a lot of science. Like, why do I believe in this crap like this? This is kind of dumb. And I was looking at EMF detectors, and then we started using it as like a ghost detector. And then I started doing more research on EMF detectors, and it took me like into this totally right way of looking at it. I was like, well, what do you use these for besides detecting ghosts? And I started like looking at what this meter was for, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I should already be using these anyway, because like I'm an IT tech.
Well, and another thing we debunked is that house I thought was so haunted, my mom's. It's just a pit of EMFs.
Well, and that's when we started uncovering some of the like research and experiments and stuff on how EMF worked. But I really like those like early investigations, like just how haphazard they are. Like going through my sister's house in Hudson Oaks. That was just me and you with a recorder and a Nikon camera I had bought. Just this like little 10 megapixel camera, and we're just walking around this like 2-room apartment.
It's not very big.
And my sister swears it's haunted because there's a baby buried out back or something.
That's when
like
I turn the corner and she's like a hairdresser or something.
Yeah.
And there's just a head. There's decapitated head on the wall, and like it's dark, and I'm like, oh hey, there's a ghost, but no, just creepy mannequin head. Do you want to answer?
Go back to what's the first question?
A random question. You don't have to answer. It's not fitting for this. But well, we were going to answer questions at the end anyway. What is your opinion on mediums? I asked this because my mom-in-law swears she had a session where Ange told her she was trying to contact me, so she bought me a session as a gift. I'm skeptical and have been putting. So I've got some opinions about this.
Okay, shoot.
I would.
Let's preface this with, we know some mediums that are friends, but we have never said like we 100% think that stuff works. The way
I 100% don't.
Yeah,
and I'm not. I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody for believing that. That's great that they've experienced that. I guess I just haven't had my moment that proves it for me.
Right.
I'm open-minded, but right now, no, I absolutely do not believe in those things. What I would do is I would do the session, but I would absolutely make sure to ask a question that would validate it for me.
Well, you're trying to Houdini the whole thing. We
have the code word that if any of us dies and someone says we're trying to contact you, there's like a code word, and it sucks that if someone's already passed, you don't have that.
Well, I mean, if you think somebody can hear you and talk to you after they've passed, then you can tell them the code word at any time as long as you're not around.
That's a good point. I would think really hard and do something that I'm not trying to trip them up. But it's cruel to tell someone that someone they love is contacting them.
Yeah.
And even if you fully believe it, I think it can really hurt somebody.
My opinion on it, after years of doing this and looking into different things, I think there is an avenue that it could be possible. I have not met anybody that has me 100% convinced that is exactly what they're doing. Anybody I've met at like a con or through the field or whatever, and I'm not saying they're necessarily being dishonest, but I do not believe that they have taken that avenue that I think it is physically possible to do what they're saying. I think maybe they might be real empathetic. I think maybe they might be real insightful. I think there's a lot of things.
They're trying to help or they're a grifter. There's only two ways that goes.
And I think if it's the people that are trying to help, I think they are tapping into something that makes them more perceptive. And I think it's more of a subconscious thing. I don't necessarily think that they are talking to the dead. I don't necessarily think that they have some insight into an ethereal dimension.
I think they're talking with your subconscious. But I think if you believe in that and you feel it would be healing for you, I don't see anything wrong. Like, I've had people pass, and then I had a comforting dream about them, even though I don't believe that they can contact you. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go. It made me feel better.
I will say this about it: the fact that I'm as skeptical as I am about it, that even if somebody told me things that were 100% factual, it still wouldn't help me because my skeptical mind is still blocking that. It wouldn't come through, and it wouldn't work. It's one of those things. You have to believe in it, and then it's gonna have to be true. Like, I'm not saying not be skeptical about it, but since I just absolutely don't believe, I'm not just skeptical about it, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm 100% an atheist when it comes to, I think medically when you pass, that you're dead. I can't logic it. But like I was an X-Files junkie growing up, and I think about that poster I bought from the X-Files that's behind Mulder's desk, the "I want to believe" poster, and like I feel that way. I want to believe. It's very pretty. It's a pretty thought.
But I have to have that that bit of empirical evidence, or at least enough evidence to point me to an, because I think like psychic ability and things like that, I think, as I said, I think there's an avenue for it, and I think it's through quantum physics. I think it's through quantum entanglement. I don't think it's because you're talking to your spirit guide. I think it's because you're connecting to other living beings, and those cells can quantum entangle, which also means brainwave activity.
Yeah, I believe in like a general conscious. Like I believe
there's
some
collective
sort of,
conscious.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. Even though that's, I guess, just as mystical as ghosts. I don't know.
It is, but it's like semantics, and I think you can tap into that. I think some people can tap into that, but I think anybody that gets online and tells me they can do a reading for me, or anybody that's charging me $20 to do it, or that shows up and says they're going to ghost hunt with me, I almost, it's never those people. I think if anybody's got that ability, they're not talking about it, or they don't realize they're using, like, I think it exists, but not in the, it's the same way with hauntings. I think 99% of the places that we go into, there's really nothing, even if we can't explain everything that's there, there's nothing paranormal going on.
And Jen says that's exactly my problem. I think I'm skeptical for it and I get that. I might be that way too. I wouldn't want to, like, if I was in that position, I wouldn't want to hurt my mother-in-law's feelings. I'm not sure what I'd do, but I was gonna say they're talking about Nick Groff in Paranormal Lockdown. And Emilio says you can't expect something to happen in a single 8-hour night. Or even make an educated decision on a haunting. And Catherine says, especially if you're trying to really get used to the place's normal noise. Buildings and structures will have shifting and wind and all those stuff that affects certain rooms and makes certain noises. I feel like anyone who is willing to look at things objectively is 1,000 more times more believable than those that jump at every noise and knock for entertainment.
Well,
jumping at every I have some thoughts about the jumping at every noise.
Well, and
I've also heard her just go off cussing because someone ran up. So
I think you can't. I think you can make a judgment and educated guess about a place in only 8 hours, but I think it's always in one direction. If you've debunked every single claim when you've gone in there, you can make an educated guess that a place isn't haunted in 8 hours. But if you haven't been able to debunk every single claim in that 8 hours, it's going to take further investigation. It's an uphill road going. It's downhill to debunk. It's so easy to debunk because it's all fact. It's irrefutable. Like if you, hey, I hear this creaking, and you figure out the source of the creaking, and you point to it, and you record it, it's irrefutable. It's debunked. It's done.
Yeah, Amelia says, I want to believe, but always try to be logical / skeptical. If you don't want to believe, then there will be an answer.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, skeptical people are always going to find some reason. And then believers are always going to find some reason.
And I think we had a part on the timeline of us doing this. I think we ran into a wall where anything that happened, we were just like, absolutely not. This is nothing. I don't care if I didn't debunk it. It's nothing. We went so hard, like the other direction.
Right.
Your feelings don't matter. Nothing's going on. And I'm glad we kind of came down from that. But I wonder how many groups that do this like us, like these small groups that aren't super popular. I wonder how much of them have the same continuum.
The way I see it play out is it's always individuals. I never see, whenever it's a group and you get a group of people, they're always believers. Like, oh yeah, it's always like a group of us nuts that are just like thrill seekers, and we go in and we're trying to prove everywhere's haunted. I have never seen another group that's not part of like a school function sort of thing, like the tech department at UCLA and stuff like that, where they're doing like some kind of like clinical study or whatever. It's always individuals I see that are the skepticals, where they're like, well, I did it for, like Joel Nickel. Joel Nickel, he's the only like professional, like paid paranormal investigator.
Oh, he's the guy that debunks everything.
Everything. He debunks everything.
There's a really good fiction podcast called The Black Tapes, where it's a girl dealing with like, it's basically fictional that guy. It's really interesting, and like it made me research him because it is really interesting that he's like a paid paranormal investigator and just shits on everything.
Yeah.
He will ruin your day.
And where I see Joel Nickel going too far, and I understand his perspective from it. He has worked so many cases that once you get good enough at anything, you can kind of walk in. Like if you fix air conditioners and you fix enough damn air conditioners and you walk into a house and you flip it on and it does a certain thing, you're like, oh, it's that thing. Like you don't have to test it anymore. And so I see him do that a lot, where he doesn't go through all the motions of absolutely proving the thing is wrong. He'll go, oh, it's probably this thing. It's not paranormal. And people get really mad about that because you
don't have to do it every single spot. Like if you want to believe the Earth is round, then you will always what? If you don't want to believe the Earth is round, you always say it's flat. Oh, I can't wait to do a flat Earther episode.
Oh yeah, we've got that in the works too. But yeah, Jen, about being skeptical and going to do it. Like I don't know if you should do it to appease your mom. That's my opinion. Because going and talking to if you're skeptical enough where you don't think you can be open-minded to it. I think going in there and listening to somebody talk about your loved one, like they're there in the room, and you being even slightly skeptical about it, you're just going to walk away pissed off in the end. Because I find that really disrespectful. Like, you know what? Say you can see the future, do tarot readings or read crystals or whatever, but don't tell me my dad's trying to talk to me and then start giving me some bull crap. That's going to make me real mad. That's going to make me flip your table and walk out of there.
Catherine says, most believers feed off each other's feelings and feed each other's experiences. Whoa, did you see that? Yeah, I totally saw like a black shadow. Totally like the smoke. Okay, so that house that I live in, still currently, that we used to think is haunted, we would tell people conflicting stories when they came in that house and they would see stuff. We'd say, oh, you can see a little girl in the mirror when like you turn the corner, and people would see it. It's just so, and the more hyped we get, the more hyped they get. And it was just such a fun, it was mean. We were being mean.
Right.
But it was a fun experiment to run. And I think that really colored the way I feel about all this, because I'm not immune to like mass hysteria. In fact, I'm really prone to
but
this.
you were specifically making it happen and unfold in front of you, because people, you would make up this totally bogus story, and then people would legitimately think they saw. I think Jeremy woke up to somebody sitting on the bed.
I did the same thing in my high school. I told this totally made up story about a ghost in the auditorium. And my daughter came home from high school and said, did you know there's a ghost in the auditorium? And she told me my story.
Yeah.
It's just wild how that it's viral. Like it's so, and I know like I am very prone to it. If I'm out somewhere and you get scared, it's over for me. I'm scared too. And I have to work really hard to not do that.
You know, here's an interesting thing too, because and we have an episode planned for like mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness, right? But you know that story about the auditorium's totally made up. You made it up, right?
I did.
We could go back and hunt that auditorium, and if stuff happened, it would probably unnerve you.
It would. I would think either maybe I didn't make this up, maybe it was a thing I felt, maybe I'm fucking psychic.
Yeah, it's that's not cognitive dissonance, but it's kind of all in that same boat of just anything can happen. We don't really understand it, and since we don't understand it, we don't know what to expect.
And Julie says, do you think UFO phenomenon was mass hysteria? Like there's, we got to talk about that on its own episode.
Yeah, like there's so many
nuanced, and
there's so many different
close
levels.
To Stephenville, where that thing happened,
and that's another thing where I went from 100% believing as a kid because I saw all these things, and then to 100% not believing for the longest time, to more recent stuff in the past few years. I'm like, well,
the problem being I vehemently hate UFO stuff. Just hate it. I think it's dumb.
You know what's funny? The things that we as a group think are the dumbest things are so infinitely more plausible than ghosts or spirit stuff, right? Because I was talking about this at a Paracon once, because you have like me, who's I'm talking about the science of paranormal, and I don't believe in ghosts, but I believe in that there is paranormal stuff that happens. I just don't like calling it ghosts, right? And then there's another dude talking about Bigfoot, and I'm like, you're an idiot, dude. And the UFO guy, and I'm like, you're an idiot, man. This is stupid, right? But what's funny is UFOs, in the terms of extraterrestrial contact, is infinitely more likely than people still go on after they die, because mathematically we can't be the only living things in the universe.
We can't play Fermi paradox and Great Barrier like right now, because I could argue with
No, I'm not going to do that. But there's that. So like mathematically, somewhere out there, that if there's a 1 in a gazillion chance, that's still one more point than ghosts, right? Because it exists in science. Bigfoot, if you think of it in terms
of, it's way more logical than a ghost.
If you think of it in terms of cryptozoology, and it's a misidentified creature or something, or just something we haven't found, it's still infinitely more likely than magic.
That thing we saw at Kyle.
Yeah.
More likely, like, even if it was like an animal of some sort. But like, the thing I've come to like more believe about ghosts, and I guess it's like a wrap up to how I started and where I ended, is that I think that there's other dimensions. I do. And when I say this, I feel crazy, because people think it's wilder. It
sounds so out there, but it's actually based in
ghosts.
Like science.
When you die, your brain is electricity. It's that it shoots off, and it's not enough to like keep itself going. It's just not. But like other dimensions, I've read so many articles about how that could be a thing, how we're actually proving it now.
Yeah. We're actually proving that there is at least one other parallel dimension to ours where time is running backwards.
Well, and the one I love is the lady that was shooting like the light photons.
That's the exact study I'm talking about.
They disappear, but she went to shoot infrasound like at a wall and like open it, and that's what makes me think, oh, but hey, we get infrasound at all these hauntings. Mm-hmm. Either it's making people crazy, or maybe it's doing something else,
or maybe it's doing both. It could be. And they were talking about the everybody feeding off of each other thing, but here's the paradox question, right? So if you think these entities appear because they feed off of like some type of emotional energy or whatever, if we go in there with our super science and we're super objective, or we don't even go in, we just plant cameras and shit all over the place, there's nothing for it to like use for a haunting to happen. It's that if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? That's the real question. So if we go in and we're just totally chill and we don't believe and nothing happens, we haven't proven anything, because the non-skeptics will say, no, you have to like feed into it. And like you watch the Bagan's one you hate. He goes in and he like hypes up the ghost, and then the stuff starts happening.
I just hate that. Bro, man, you want to throw down? I got scratched. I'm possessed. La, la, la. It's so dumb.
I know.
I want to throw just popcorn at the TV every time it pops up on screen.
I think what makes me hate it is that occasionally they get some really cool stuff on video, and I don't know that they're not staging it. I don't know that they are staging it either way, but I'm watching it and the production value is good. I'm really watching it for like, hey, how did they edit this to make it interesting? But then they get something really cool like that, and I'm like, what if that's real? Like, what if they didn't fake that thing?
Well, and you've said a bunch of times they've gone to so many places
that
even if they're bullshit, if there are ghosts, they have to have caught something real.
Yeah, by accident.
And by ghosts, I don't mean dead people. Sorry, I need to clarify that, because I don't believe in ghosts.
That's why I always say like entity or...
I believe in something.
Yeah.
There's something.
And see, I really like the word alien, because I think it fits. But I don't like using it because people look at me like I'm really psycho.
Well, it's like UFO. Do I believe in UFOs? Absolutely. They're unidentified flying.
Yeah.
Do I think it's aliens? No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I would think it's more likely that people are time traveling than aliens.
Well, I can disprove that, but that's a completely different episode.
I'm Brad. I understand physics.
But we went a long time just chasing ghosts, a real long time, and I was getting more active on social media. I already had a YouTube channel. I was getting more active on that, but I thought, hey, let's post some of this stuff up for our friends. And they were watching it, and they were also saying it was crap. But then, like, some outside parties, like people I didn't know, like it got in the hands of some other people, and they said that's interesting, but that's not evidence or whatever. And I guess I did the wrong thing, because like all the other ghost groups were like, yes, it is, and they doubled down on it. But I was like, well, why is it not evidence? Like, this thing happened to me. I experienced it. My friends were there. They also saw it, and we got it on video. And they're like, well, if you want to run a real experiment, the environment has to be controlled or whatever. And, I like physics and stuff. I wasn't applying it to what we were doing yet. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, you bring up a valid point. Like, it could be these 5 other things. Even if I don't think it's those 5 other things, I didn't prove it wasn't. How do I prove it's not those things? Oh, you have to have a controlled environment. You have to do this. You have to do that. And so I took those things into consideration, and that's when we really started going back to, and we went back to Antioch. And we went back to George's Creek. And
Catherine says they revisit places as well, but the thing that bothers me most about Zach's crew is that they have the money to have equipment in every room and every angle, but don't, which to me is telling. Right. Yeah, and I do get jealous of them, because there's some places we can't go twice because we can't afford it.
Right, yeah, because it's chic to charge to have paranormal investigators come out, because it got popular. Those shows are a double-edged sword.
It's like when I had celiac disease and everybody was like gluten-free for funsies. It was good because there was more options, but it was bad because
everybody thought you were bougie.
Yeah, everybody thought I was stupid.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with us. Like, there was more equipment readily available to buy for ghost hunting. God, if I could go back to my past self and just
get in that as a career,
yeah, and just like slap myself in the head and be like, hey, you need to be making this ghost hunting equipment and marketing it better.
What do you have in deja vu about, Amelia? Catherine, I already read that one. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah, fucking Zach Bagans.
But we started going back and taking a more strategic approach to it. And that's where me and Allie had started doing stuff with us too. And that's where we clicked, because we had got balls deep into Kyle. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to invest in more equipment, because I can't just keep going on believing that this stuff is happening out there.
And as a side note, like if we do have some sort of new listener, which I think is mythical, Kyle is just a place it's just a little cemetery we've gone to repeatedly, where we tended to get stuff that was activity, and it kept us going back and back and back. And I really think, though, it grew us as a group.
Oh yeah, because every time we went back, we debunked a bucket of stuff.
Balls deep in time.
But every time we went back, we also got a bucket of new stuff to try to figure out.
And I think that's where we also realized there is no way to control this environment.
That we very much figured out that there is no outside environment, and I'm talking buildings too. There, outside of a lab, there is no field investigation that you can call a controlled environment. It does not exist, because if you're in an abandoned building, there's an open window somewhere. There's a bird in there somewhere.
It's falling apart. It's making noises.
There's rain dripping somewhere. And if you have any one thing, any one contaminant that is not you cannot scientifically call that a controlled environment. And that's what the key word is. And people get hung up on that with us, because we say this is not scientific evidence. We're not saying it's not evidence. We're just saying it is not scientific proof that this thing you're experiencing is happening, which is a very
raccoon and vultures.
Yeah, it's a very specific definition of what we're saying. We're saying we're not validating this as a scientific thing that happened to you. You can't go around saying you know this for sure. You can absolutely say, hey, this happened to me, and there's very strong evidence to suggest that there wasn't a natural explanation for it, because we couldn't find one. And we check a lot of shit. A lot of stuff.
See, the other thing I think that sort of ruined a bunch of stuff we do is we were doing all these little cemeteries, places we can go for free, because we don't have the money of the bigger groups. And I think, like, society like ruined that. There's now houses next to all these places. They're even less controlled than they were before, and you're not supposed to be in a cemetery past midnight. And while, you know, the cops have showed up and given us the okay before, like, we're bothering people. It's their backyard now.
Yeah, and even worse than that, we're not the only ones doing it. When we first started going,
We've run into other groups.
I never would have expected just randomly running into another person in a cemetery at midnight. That was the most startling goddamn thing to ever happen. I remember the first time that happened at George's Creek, where we're just up there, and there's just some dude wandering around, and we're like, is that a junkie? What is it? They were fucking ghost hunting.
Is it a ghost?
And I was like, who else is doing this?
Especially near Cleburne, Texas. We're in the middle, like, we're going to Johnson County places near where I live. We're not in Fort Worth. We're not in the big city. We're in towns that have
15 people. But it makes sense, too, because what else are they going to be? There's nothing else to do in that town.
You're right.
But they all get cable. So they've all seen the ghost show, and they go, you know what I could do? I've heard all these stories about this cemetery down the street, and they go do it. And then we show up with our matching T-shirts,
our fucking proton packs
in our suitcase, and they're like, oh my god! And that's how we started being called professional, because we showed up, and people just make these wild assumptions, like we're not just making this up as we go. Which in the beginning, we were just making it up as we go. And somehow we ended up like in this weird lane where we're able to like give advice about this stuff.
But probably not good advice. I was going to say, Catherine says, yeah, not everyone is respectful either. We actually, for a really long time, like, I found these cemeteries randomly. And this was, now you can Google it, but I did this on my own. I mapped it out. I found these dirt roads and followed them in these cemeteries. And I didn't want to tell people where they were.
Yeah.
Because the really beautiful one, a Great House.
With all the headstones were like kicked over.
People were starting bonfires out there and throwing beer cans. And I don't want to be responsible for showing someone a place they can destroy.
Well, there was that, and then there was I didn't want people getting hurt out there.
I don't want to be liable
because I still believed in paranormal stuff at the time, at least to an extent. And I was like, look, if you go out there and you're the idiot that finds the demon. And you get possessed, I'm going to feel bad about that. And two, I don't want you to go out there, get startled by something, trip over a headstone, and break your neck, because then I'm going to feel bad about it.
Well, and specifically Kyle and Antioch and Great House, like a week before we first went to Kyle, a mountain lion literally killed a horse, like a mile from where that was. Yeah. And I'm like, what if someone goes out here alone and gets eaten by a fucking mountain lion?
But I mean, Kyle solidified so much stuff for me, because that's when we had those experiences. We went like a couple of times. We went back, we tried to debunk, and then I started looking into the history of the place, and it just like magically like lined up to all our experiences, which I said we're going to do an episode about Kyle.
But I do think that's where we started
but that's
doing
when
the history stuff.
Well, that's what made my mouth water about it, because when it all like clicked together, it was just perfect, and I was like, I felt like Columbo. I was just like, oh man, no one's gonna believe. Like, they gotta believe me now.
Well, and it's nice.
I'm gonna win a Pulitzer.
Well, it's nice when that happened, because I went home and did a bunch of research that clicked for me too. Yeah. But the other place that happened, I think, is that awful house with the bed bugs and the heat.
Oh, Hill House in
Denton.
It's not Denton.
Gainesville.
Gainesville. Yeah. It's also called Hill House.
Yeah, but there was some evidence we got that clicked with historical. I mean, I have disputes about it, but it is very interesting when that happens.
Well, the stuff we found at the house led me to a bunch of history that doesn't have anything specifically to do with that house. It just has to do with that neighborhood. But it clicked so well, in the fact that like I'm literally the expert on those events that happen. Like, that's not in their main thing.
House Manor.
Yeah. And I need to put something together on that. And I need to get with their like little local museum and go show them all the stuff I put together. Like, I found the house where that murder happened, and I have tracked down the last living relative of that person. There's a bunch of stuff when it all comes together like that. it's just this really cool feeling because it's like you have an insight into something that nobody else has an insight into. And when you find the things that you're looking for, it's like this sense of gratification. Am I drawing this out long enough for you to fix your?
Sorry,
thing?
I was.
I know you lost the page, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was trying to say thank you for the giving us the name of the place because it's one of those places you can go that charges. Like if you want to go do a haunting, even the mention of bed bugs made me. Yeah, we decontaminated when we got home.
I remember when we found that too. We were just like, oh, I came.
I'd never seen a bed bug before. I was like, what is that?
Well, Kristen's the one that identified him because she had the bed bug incident. She's like, that's a fucking bed. Get the fuck out of here. And when I got home, I stripped down butt naked in the garage and came in and just like deloused. I think I threw those clothes away. Yeah, and that place was just so miserable in the summer. I actually, I hate to say it, we need to go back one more time to film because but it's because we have a different outlook on it now.
I'm going to be real honest here. That place unnerves me, and I'm not sure why. The architecture, the fact that there's a hole in the middle of it that's a well.
Yeah.
But I do love the cat that lives under the house that someone is dead convinced is a ghost cat.
I love that journal that's out on the table where people write down their paranormal, and everybody's talking about this ghost cat.
Meanwhile, Kristen's outside petting a cat.
Yeah, it's like there is a cat that lives there that is the best.
Oh,
but
it's just funny, man.
No, I do want that, since that's one of the more affordable places that is more controlled, and we've been there multiple times. I want to go back there and refilm again and like wrap it up, but with the new knowledge and the new direction or whatever. And we're gonna have to do that with a lot of places. We're gonna have to do that with Kyle. I wish we could do that with Carter so bad, but somebody burned it down.
Yeah,
that's why we didn't used to give places out.
That's upsetting. I hate that. Emilio says the big difference between Hill House Manor and Haunted Hill House is they are not really far from each other. Texas standards, yeah.
I was about to say they are really far from it because one's in Mineral Wells, one's all the way in
Paranormal Tech says nice EFF fluctuations around the upstairs. I think did we get weird EMOs there? I just know that place unnerves me for some reason. It's not logical.
It depends which place they're talking about. Yeah,
no, not Kyle, Emilio. A little historical monument called Carter.
Did I say Kyle?
No, I don't know, but Carter was a little church.
Cartersville, Texas. Yeah, it was a ghost town is what it was.
And there was a Native American attack because they've got all these stones explaining about like the colonizers fighting the Native Americans, and they burned down this church. It's a beautiful like old building. I hate that.
Yeah.
It's deeply upsetting to me when stuff like that happens.
Actually, some of the last footage of that place still standing is in our like intro video.
Okay, because we went back and got video of me walking through there.
Right. Yeah. And it's really sad because some of the evidence we got there like way early. This is pre-good equipment, but I've got apparitions on video there.
And that's the video where Allie's standing there.
And her hair moves.
One piece of hair just moves. Amelia says, I may have misheard, but my heart dropped for a bit. Oh man, if something happened to Kyle, I would be distraught. I
don't think we need to go back and go look at it during the day. I don't think it's investigatable anymore.
There's the house is back right up to it, and people have started camping in those woods. I would like to also go hiking behind there again. Yeah. Because it is just a gorgeous hike.
Well, I started looking at it on VR Google Earth because we went for like a day-long hike back there one time and got towed, and we were like, where's the neighborhood? Where's the neighborhood? And I went on Google Earth in the VR flyover to look. We were going the wrong direction. I could see up until that point, I could never understand how somebody could walk like out into the woods and get so lost that they couldn't get back. And now that I've looked where we walked, we were idiots. We're lucky we stayed on that trail we did and just did an about face because we were just going north.
That's why I did it.
Just straight north. We were actually heading away.
Oh, from the big housing development that's out there?
Yeah, because Kyle sits here, right? And then the housing develop is directly west.
Is like over here.
Yeah, it's just west, like right through the trees. We were just heading straight north.
I would also really love to talk to some people that have moved out there.
Well, that housing development It's only 3 houses.
Well, my dad knows someone who lives out there, but they're very religious, and we don't want to
Right.
we don't want to overstep.
I'm fine with knocking on doors. I don't care.
You wanted to do that in Gainesville because people lived in like the house where the murderer.
Yeah, where maybe Bostwick, got axed.
But you don't want to knock on their door and be like, "Hey, did you know a murder happened?" They're like, "Oh no."
No, I absolutely want to do that. I want to knock on the door, be like, "My name is Ashton Rogers. I'm with NTParanormal. We're actually shooting a documentary down the road, and there was some serial killings that happened in this area. Did you know that? Fun fact, this lot right over here, which sits on your property line, did you know somebody died right there? Right there.
You know how my dad liked to
Right
do
there.
mean stuff to me as a kid, like the sandworms and the sand dunes and the
Yes.
braining amoebas. He told me when he moved into that house in Cleburne that someone died in my bedroom. Turns out it was true. Someone died in that house of a heart attack, but it was very peaceful, and that house was never scary. It's like, why is my dad such a monster?
I know somebody has died in every square inch of livable land, though.
Well, Julie makes a good point. I wonder if, though, the structures are gone, you could investigate on the land and get results. And that's what I've always wondered. There's so much history under us.
Well, and back to Kyle again, and that was the thing. That's where we found out about the disputed territory and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't think this has anything to do with the fact that this is a cemetery. I think this has to do, like when I subscribed to that, I was like, it has something to do with the stuff that happened here before that.
The Native Americans that were just ruined, and like this whole state, this whole country is built on
Native American
genocide. So, like, if you believe there are ghosts, why would you even think that it's from the house you're in? Why wouldn't you think, oh my God, something horrible happened on the land that exists?
Yeah, I think it's always funny when I see places that say they're haunted and it's a mortuary or like a morgue,
but no one
or it's a
died there.
cemetery, and I'm like, if you think it's like because of like trauma or whatever, no trauma happened. Like that's not what's. But then
literally no one dies in the cemetery. Man.
But then if you go back further, even further, there's always trauma that happened there. There's some kind of genocide that has happened on every square acre of property in North America.
This whole world.
It's just it's a cesspool of like just trauma
and misery. It's the poltergeist thing. You didn't move the bodies, but there's how do you know what's under your house? Like what?
There's even the oceans are just filled with carcasses. It's like
I'm contacting a dead whale. It's
everything is a carcass, and it's just there's that, and then maybe the mortuary or the handling of the dead or something like that. Maybe or maybe that amplifies it. Maybe emotional states amplify it. Because I think I don't like stone tape theory, but I like the idea that if you repeat something enough, you wear a hole in it. Like if you walk the same path every day, eventually you start to wear down the concrete, or
no,
I get what
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
And it's I think it breaks down that kind of veil, that film between this dimension and the one that's running backwards, at the very least. I
gotta think there's more dimensions than that. I can't think it's just one. But Catherine says it's a great idea. I love interviews, even if you didn't ask about ghosts, but just how it's like been living next to a cemetery. Amelia says that one house that background faces Kyle, they ruined our investigation with a party, so they need paranormal solicitation. Catherine says, I used to think our housing development was haunted or built on cursed land over by Blue Mountain Road.
Blue Mountain Road has a really interesting history.
When I worked for Amazon, is that the one I had to go to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so mad last week. They decided they were going to fill in all the potholes. And you haven't been able to get up and down Blue Mountain Road at all. And I was so mad. But then it's all gone. And I drove down it today, and it was the smoothest ride ever. But that whole area, a lot of that is from the military base and the experiments and crap that they were doing over there. And there's just like a lot of history over in that area. The crime rate used to be a lot higher. And I mean, everything in this Fort Worth area, that's all Hell's Half Acre. It's like so much. If you go back far enough, you will always find something historically like valid to say, oh yeah, it's that thing. But, one doesn't necessarily correlate with the other.
Amulet says, I work on cursed land. A 6-month project is turned into a 16-month and cost me. Oh, no. He does, you do construction, Amelia?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's doing contracting.
Well, I did roofing for one summer when I was 13 with my stepdad. It was terrible.
What's your favorite thing about our methodology? So we do things in a very particular way, and I said maybe sometimes we're too stickler, but I'm never going to back off of trying to control the environment as much as possible to like isolate stuff. But
I love that everyone can count to 10 Mississippi and shut their fucking mouth while I'm doing EVPs.
Yes,
we've gotten really good at that.
What's funny is in the very, very beginning, y'all used to make fun of me because I would actually write down procedures and stuff. It turns out that's more, and I stopped doing it for a long time. It turns out some of that stuff's important, really important.
The way we do it, the pattern, it is. It's repeating the same experiment in the same place, making sure we get the same results.
Yeah, I think that's the misconception about the scientific approach to debunking is people see the one picture and they go, oh, there's definitely a ghost there. And I'm like, that's backwards.
What about the 800 other pictures?
Yeah,
there's nothing.
Yeah, I've got 800 pictures that show nothing there, and then one picture where there's something there. So I've got technically more evidence that there's nothing there than evidence that there's something there, yet you choose to go with the one.
That's honestly all it takes to be a good paranormal group. Just shut up. Yes.
He is not right. My favorite one is when we're investigating with somebody new and everybody's being really quiet and really good or whatever, and then the new person's like, man, this is boring. Like, just out in the middle, and like, what do you think? What did you think we were doing?
That makes me so mad. I get furious. I'm like, because we lay it out for people. We go, this is boring.
I try to tell them you don't want to come out here with us. Like, no, this will be great.
Also, don't move. Catherine says, speaking of my neighbors, the people who live there, she's a local paranormal experience.
Do what?
Catherine is saying that she has neighbors that have paranormal stuff go on.
Okay.
I was just reading a comment.
Go give them a card.
Proven repetitivity. I can't say that word because I'm...
Proven repetitivity.
Repetitive. Sorry. My favorite thing is that we go back to places and repeat the same stuff. That's just...
Yeah. Stop shaking your... Oh, my gosh. But... And to that note, okay, so... a lot of people argue that... Okay, so the scientific method is you need to be able to repeat the same results over and over and over again to find the norm or whatever. And then they look at the one picture. But from going back a ton of times, we have been able to sometimes repeat paranormal results sometimes. Not with a degree that we can just make it happen, but to a degree that it has happened multiple times over and over to show that there is some, at least frequency enough that it happens to us. And a lot of that is with like the EVP stuff that we do, where we have specifically got it to show up in certain frequency ranges where human vocal cords couldn't do it. Like that's a huge deal. And that gives us data to work with to try to debunk that or take that to the next step, as opposed to just being like, oh, I got this one random transmission or I got this one thing. And being able to systematically like weed out different things that could be contaminants, like with our sound box, where we have multiple recorders, but one is like locked away in a soundproof box.
Detuning the spirit box.
Detuning the spirit boxes, and then eventually putting them in Faraday cages too. And then all of a sudden we don't get results anymore. And everybody's like, you're doing it wrong. It's like, well, you're getting radio stations. That's, a different thing.
My favorite thing about investigation, it has nothing to do with the science. I love the feeling that the next time might be the time.
Mm-hmm.
I like this could be the time that I see the full ghost or that something touches me. And like, I don't so much get disappointed as I'm just excited to do the next one and see if that's it.
Yeah. And sadly, the field investigation part of it, the most like super fun part, is the least science of all of it, because when we're going out there to have an experience and then examine that experience, because we know it's not a controlled environment and we're not going to prove anything through that. It's the other stuff that we've always kind of brainstormed and talked about that we're trying to gear up to do that is actually real science, which is like the surveys that we want to do with the people that have paranormal experiences. And it sounds totally boring because it's not going out with an EMF detector. It's having people fill out surveys and then comparing the data.
I love it because I'd love to prove that people are let's say 90% of these people have migraines or something, because migraines are like on a spectrum with epilepsy. They're starting to think, and maybe that's what's causing it. Would be very interesting to me to find a medical cause.
Well, and so, okay. And I was going to bring this up too. So there's a new part of our website. So if you're an old time listener, you already know our website is NTParanormal.com. If you're a new listener, we have a website. It's called NTParanormal.com. There's a new part of it. If you go over to the Contact Us tab and you go to the drop down, there will be a paranormal survey. If you have ever had what you feel is a legitimate paranormal experience, you've seen something, you've heard something, a strange feeling, like an event has happened to you, or you live in a place where events have happened to you, go fill out this survey. You can do it anonymously by, in the name place, you can just put anonymous in there.
Because I think some of it is medical questions.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was going to get into that.
We're not bound by HIPAA.
No, we're not. But we are not going to, none of this data gets shared with anybody.
And we will respect that.
Well, okay, your file will not get shared with anybody. The data is going to be put into a giant pool, right? And once we have 500 people that have filled this thing out, we'll be able to take that data and dissect it, right? So, it asks about medications that you've taken. It asks about medical conditions you've had.
Current
trauma, grief, what was going on at the time and date. If you can put in the time and date, I think time and date is in there. So what this is going to do is it's going to look for commonalities between people that have had paranormal experiences. And then you will also be able to check off the types of paranormal experiences you've had. I saw an apparition. I heard a sound. I smelled a smell.
Felt something. Yes.
Right. And so it's going to look for we're going to look for keywords in that, and then we're going to divide it up, types of experiences and commonalities between people that have had these types of experiences. We may find something like people that take Adderall hear noises more often than people that don't.
Or just like SSRIs and all those antidepressants are so common.
Yeah, in what I just said, that is totally random. I can't even speculate on the data is. My speculation is people that have experienced trauma and grief are going to have higher amounts of paranormal experience. You're on therefore, if they check off I had trauma or grief within the 3 months of this event happening to me, those are going to be the ones where they have multiple and more vivid events. And then people that don't have those checked, it's going to be weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's just through conversations with our clients and stuff, not actually collecting all that data. So actually, the more people we can get to fill that out, whatever your experience is, the better, because it gives us a better pool to look at that from and start to find
plot our data
correlations. And I also need to mention that data is not just going to show like, oh, we think you see paranormal apparitions because you take medications or because you're crazy. It may show that people that take a certain type of medication are more prone to, or are more open to see legitimate paranormal activity. Maybe there's a chemical component in somebody's body that actually allows them to be a medium. Like, we don't know what that data is going to show because no one is collecting it. Absolutely no one's collecting it. And we've actually paired up with Broken Bow Asylum, and she is having everybody that comes and does investigations there fill out that form is part of their investigation. So if they have an experience there, they fill that out and it comes to us, and it goes into that data pool.
Paramount Texas, how do you filter out the Joker's fiction? Or do they mean like people making out stuff for the survey?
Yeah, so it's really hard. And here's the deal. I can't prove you didn't...
The honor system?
Yeah, I can't prove you... Well, here's the deal. No one that's listening to this show is doing it to, no one that's going to know about our survey is going to know to spoof us, because we're not real widely known.
It's also just real rude, don't.
But it's going to filter out from the law of averages. Yeah, there's going to be some stuff where people are making stuff up, but I can't disprove that anyway. If you can't prove paranormal exists, you can't do it the other way either for somebody. So their things are valid. And if anything, it shows that people with mental health conditions might try to spoof us.
Emilio says, can we upload audio video if it's available?
You can send it to me and I can't. So really this is just a data survey. So it's going to be all text. And the point of that survey isn't to prove or disprove the experience that happened. Now you can send that in, like, I know you, Emilio, but this is a good question for somebody that may not just like know us personally. But if you fill out that form and then you're like, hey, I want you to actually look at the evidence I got, or maybe come out and investigate that, just go to the regular contact form and send it to us. And like, we'll look at it and we can make it as like part of a file, and then we can analyze it and then come out and have a discussion about it.
We love to hear about that stuff.
And that's a totally separate thing. But the form I'm talking about, it's a subjective form about people who have experience. What is going on with people who feel they've had an experience? Like, I don't have to prove that experience actually happened objectively. It's not an investigative step.
It doesn't matter for the purposes of this.
No. If you believe you've had an experience, fill out the form, because that's also going to give us correlating data between everybody that believes they had an experience is 6'4".
Or I'm curious about gender differences.
Yeah, maybe more females.
Or maybe they're more prone to hearing stuff. Maybe men are more prone to seeing stuff.
Ages too, because there's the thing about, hey, children are more susceptible. So if you're filling it out for your kid, like you could do that. I would not ask you to submit your minor's information to us. I would do it as an anonymous, but I would put, my 5-year-old anonymous. This is going on and what medications they're on and things like that.
And like, I fill out one for my daughter.
Yeah.
Because she had an experience when she was very little. It would be very interesting to see,
But I think is it going to be flawed? It's going to be a little bit flawed. And there's going to be people that make stuff up. Man, I get calls all the time on our business.
Just being nosy.
Yeah.
I wonder if night shift workers have more experiences. I wondered that while working at GPS, because I had experiences during the day, but the night shift people were so crazy. I don't know. Everyone that works the night shift, like in the medical field, Looney Tunes. Sorry.
Well, and we have the residential we did, and that guy very, very much had that work shift disorder.
Oh yeah,
thing going on.
I forget the name of it.
It's called work shift disorder.
Is that really the name?
Yeah. People that work nights or they work 20 hours on and 10 hours off and blah, blah, blah. Those people, they are very prone to having those experiences. And luckily, he was very open to listening to what we had to say about it. And as they started making some lifestyle changes, the paranormal things that were going on just went away.
Well, when I was working at that prison and I was working 16 hours every night and sleeping for 4 hours, I had more sleep paralysis. I had more stress and anxiety. I was more prone to jumping because I had no sleep. I was just at work constantly. It's rough. And then they switch you to the day shift the next week, and you how can you not see stuff when you're just exhausted?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I know it was a survey form, but just didn't know if it accepted collaborating. I don't think it specifically accepts. I think you have to.
No, yeah. There's not like a submission thing for that, but I'm sure maybe I need to go in and add a note to it. Hey, if you have evidence that goes along with this, send it to NTParanormal at gmail.com. Oh yeah, we have a phone number too now. It's 949-74-GHOST. I think it's awesome.
Are you real?
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Who are you gonna call? Ashton Rogers. Several experiences in Cleburne. Right? Oh, the freaking Wright Plaza in Cleburne. I was seeing someone on the upstairs level of that, and I talked to her. It was actually very interesting. But yeah, Cleburne has.
Yeah, she said they don't let anybody go in there and investigate anymore because the ghost hunters there's like people that do like taxes and stuff.
There's
up
like
there.
a senator that has but they were wiggling the doors and like trying to open file cabinets.
No. And I know everybody else hates them, but I really like the commercial locations. Like when we went and did the Arlington, I like getting asked to go do a place as opposed to like going and finding one and like, oh, I'm going to pay $1,000 to go wander this abandoned building with no electric. Like, doesn't that seems like a ripoff? That building's not doing anything.
I like the old buildings because I like the aesthetic and I like the history. I do not like having to pay to do something I used to do for funsies because I don't want to do illegal stuff anymore. Like,
yeah, it's like the risk is so much higher. But I really like the Arlington Visitor Center, like when that was still around. That was cool. There was nothing scary about it. It was an office building, but those two chicks had all those stories about it.
It was fun.
And it was cool. And
we got EVPs.
And I like it. I like that feeling I get about being in a place like where I'm not supposed, like
liminal spaces.
Yeah,
I love being in a theater when no one else. It's like I'm doing something wrong without the fear of getting in trouble.
Right? Yeah. It's not the trespassing feeling. It's the just like no one's ever here at this time, and I'm here. Like this place doesn't normally. It's like being inside Schrodinger's box or something.
I do love just being in, and I used to do this like urban exploration, like when I was younger, and the cops showed up and they were just like, "Go home, kid." But now I'm almost 40 and they take me to jail. So
right, yeah, there'd be bills and stuff to pay.
We have been escorted out by the cops once. It was terrifying.
So I think we're getting we're at the 2 hour mark.
Yeah,
we're gonna try to keep these episodes like right around the 2 hour mark. So it is kind of time to wrap up. We probably had other stuff to talk about, but just to wrap up, this is a reboot. This is the new episode 1. We're gonna try to do it bi-weekly. We may end up doing this once a month rather than every other week because it might get hefty. We're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna try to do this again in 2 weeks. But we're going to do this as a live stream, and then it's going to get posted to YouTube. And then eventually we will go back to like a straight podcast format and all that after we get where you can get it on iTunes and Spotify and all that. After we get like about 10 episodes, maybe. Mm-hmm. That way I can do like a mass upload in the marketing and all that and get it done. We are going to do a different like show format for the investigations when we start doing those. And I've got all the stuff to start live streaming those again when we do it. So we're going to try to do that.
I was going to say, as a warning, we are kind of trying to roll it back to when it was more fun. We've lost some of the luster. We're going to try some new things. So
yeah, and like our ideas and our belief about the paranormal have obviously just shifted so much that it just felt like we should just like start over. Like instead of like try to explain this like up and down a whole bunch, we should just start again, like a fresh start. We'll still reference like the old investigate, like we're gonna go back and reinvestigate those, and then we're gonna look at that body of work and make judgments on that, and then look for better evidence, better explanations.
I would just like to delete every video of you. I've changed so much in the past couple years that, I'd like some of that to go away and I could just be a new person. It's nice.
We got any leftover questions from the audience to answer?
Catherine's talking about, she was talking about ghost towns, and I was thinking about Terra Lingua. We went to...
Oh, Terra Lingua was nice.
It would be, but we didn't investigate. But that would be fun. And then they're talking about doing like a live radio show, and it makes me think of Art Bell, like Coast to Coast.
Oh, this is Art Bell,
would be so
Coast to
fun.
Coast. That's what made me want to do the podcast to begin with, because Art Bell had like just passed away, or they had stopped doing it, and I was like, oh man, Art Bell was awesome because he had some wackos on that show. No, like I'm looking forward to doing new stuff. We don't exactly know where we're going with it, so it might just be the podcast for a little while. But I want to get back into investigating. Like I want to go to the Mineral Wells place. It's like $600 or something to go. Man, no one's got any money. I don't have any money. You guys don't have any money. gas price, like I just paid $4.70 a gallon to fill up my car. Like, we may just be going to some cemeteries again for a while, or some of this stuff might just be academic discussion for a little while.
Why not set up a camera for your bathroom and see if the demon dog comes out?
Well, and you know what we might do is, like, you know, I used to do the live streams of Debbie the doll and stuff like that. We might try to go find like some haunted objects, or we might try to do like some actual like Bill Nye type experiments with like EMFs or something out in the game room, things like that.
Yeah, Emilio was asking, what are your plans for the next investigation, and where do you want to take the group this year? And like, I think we're already like answering that. Just I got a new job where like I'm, you know, financially a little better. So I think once things settle with COVID and just everything going crazy, hoping that it ever does, I think we'll be able to do some stuff.
The great thing is me, you, and Allie all have weekends off.
That is nice.
Now, so we can very much make an argument for if we can afford something or talk somebody into something, we can go on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And we can do it.
Because people were working weekends.
I'm really heavily thinking, I mean, just throwing some ideas out there, but I'm really heavily thinking about wrapping up Warehouse 9 with just us three. And just going through it one last time, because people can't go through there. Like, we couldn't take people through there on the tours anymore. It might not be walkable anymore for very much longer for a small group. So we might finish that and actually put together a cohesive thing for that building. We might go back to Hill House, because you got to pay for it, but it's not affordable.
Future episodes for podcasts and direction, the show will go with reboot.
Well, so I forgot to bring my form in here that's got the next 200 episodes, but
we were going to list them one by one.
Yeah, I can tell you the next 10 episodes are all going to be specifically like paranormal investigation debate sort of thing. Just because we want to get a foothold on this reboot in the new show, and any new listeners, I want them to get a good foothold on what we do, what we think we know, what we don't know, and get used to our personalities talking about things we have experience with before we just start debating about off-the-wall stuff. So, like, the next 10 episodes are pretty much going to be talking about cases that we've done, EMFs, science-based things like that. After we get past those first 10 episodes there, then we'll start branching off into just dark topics.
Flat Earth better be in the top 20.
Flat Earth is in there. QAnon is in there.
It better be like number 7. Sorry, number 17. That's it.
As a matter of fact, I think in one of the first 10 episodes, I wanted to talk about our own cognitive dissonance, like in detail, and how that relates to other groups' cognitive dissonance. I wanted to talk about ethics again. I specifically want to talk about the Kyle investigation. That's in the first 10, because that's like our most epic
Odyssey
thing that like screws with us, and it's still like a question mark sort of deal at the end of it. So it's still kind of open-ended. But then, we after those 10, then we can start talking about serial killers and psychology and mediumship and past lives. And I want to talk about, man, I've got so many. I have a really good episode I want to do about time travel and how gravity and time work together.
Emilio thinks he's funny. Get used to personalities. New guy's in for a treat.
We actually want to have Emilio and his brother.
I was just thinking that. I think they would be fun on this show.
The only episodes I don't have written in stone are the interview episodes, which will, replace episodes in my lineup as we can get more interviews, because we'll bring them in and we're going to bombard them with questions, and then we're going to be like, hey, go to these people's website. But anyway, just to wrap this up, that's where we're going with it. So that's our show. We're paranormal investigators. If you want to check out our past work, you can find all of it at NTParanormal.com. There's links to our YouTube page there. Like, subscribe, And share these videos too. That's what helps us the most, because the more new people that we bring in. By the way, thanks, Paranormal Tech. I don't think I've seen you on here before, or maybe I just don't remember your name.
They have been on here.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
But the more new people that we have commenting and asking questions, that's where we shine, because we're good at like discussing a topic. Because me and Eli, we've had these discussions before. We're like pantomiming this to get a discussion going. It's better when we have like new, fresh questions where we can actually answer them. So the more people see this, the more people that get like engaged with the discussion, the better we do.
Yeah. And it's fun. I like talking to people about this stuff.
Yeah. So check us out at NTParanormal.com. We do have a book floating around in the ether out there on Amazon. You can also get that through the website. It's the After Dark True Cases of the...
You wrote it.
It's After Dark True Cases of the NT-Paranormal Team. It talks about like 13 of the cases we did, like how we did debunking, how we got into it. It gives a little more stuff, a little more detail. We do have 2 episodes on Amazon. You can watch them for free on YouTube. It's the Needful Things investigation. It's also the Yoakum Hospital, which Yoakum Hospital actually had some really cool evidence in it, but I did not highlight it nearly as like epic, because like I swear to God, I think you see an alien in the window.
Oh yeah, the alien. That's awesome.
Like, but we never talk about it. Like, we've never even had a podcast episode about all the stuff that happened at Yoakum, because when we were there, it felt boring. But when you look through all the footage and all the stuff that happened, like when we're not in the room and things like that.
That'll be a fun episode then.
Yeah. So we're going to try to go back and do all those. So ntparanormal.com. Check out our book. Check out our YouTube page. Just browse through there. You can look at how ridiculous Eli used to look back in the day, how I was half my size. You can make fun of... I
was double my size, too. You gained all my weight.
Yeah, and I say just totally ridiculous, like contradicting things all the time. And that's just how life works. I mean, that's one of the things that people liked about us, is because we would say one thing and then we'd go back and we weren't afraid to debunk ourselves.
We would say one thing and then a completely different thing. We make no sense.
Well, no, we're willing to admit that we make mistakes. We're wrong.
Oh, I'm always wrong.
A lot. And we go back and we tell you why we're wrong, which makes us more right, in my opinion.
I do appreciate the people we've met through this and that have continued watching us even when we sucked, so thank you for, the support.
So hopefully the quality of episode goes it's like, I feel like every 5th episode we had a really good episode, but you really had to wade army crawl your way through a lot of that. But I feel like we've got a better handle on what we're doing now. All right, so that's the show, guys. Hope everybody had fun. And if you guys got any questions, feel free to email me or shoot me a message through the Facebook page. And check out our website. We have a lot of evidence and videos and things like that posted up there. And remember, if you've had any kind of paranormal experience, please go fill out that survey. And if you're not comfortable just giving us all that data and us knowing who you are, just put in anonymous for the name. It'll be fine. I promise. Absolutely nobody's going to call your house.
Okay. Bye.
Later.